Hey everyone, how's it going? Bowser the Healer here, and this video is for every role in the game and every spec. Why are there no healers in Mythic Plus? It's a bit of a discussion video, so while there will be gameplay on screen, it's just going to be me blasting from stream or something like that. So kick back and relax, throw this one up in the background, and write some comments down because I would love to hear what you have to say by the end of it. I made a community post asking basically everyone of any role, right? Why are there no healers in Mythic Plus? I got a lot of really wonderful information from that community post, so I want to just jump right into this one, maybe explain a bit of what's going on here. So, in Shadowlands, in order to get the best item you could from your vault for Mythic Plus, you only had to do a 15. In Dragonflight, you have to do a 20. Granted, that drops something closer to Mythic Raid gear, where in Shadowlands, it drops something more heroic adjacent, heroic plus adjacent for Raid gear at a Mythic Plus dungeon level and that gear pool, blah, blah, blah. There was almost no reason to do a 20 in Shadowlands. Going up to 20s, I think it helped with conduit power, but outside of borrowed power systems, it was just for an achievement and just for the portals. There was no other real reason to do it other than to flex and become a better player. Let's just start with that aspect of it. What if you told a player going from a 15, they had to do a 20 or more like a 21 with the new scaling in order to get their best gear from Vault? Well, that's certainly a jump in player skill. For those of you who don't know, there was a change in the scaling from Shadowlands to Dragonflight. So dungeons are typically a little bit harder. Once you get past, I think it's 10 or 11, it starts scaling more rapidly. So the difference between a 15 and a 21 or 20 in, right? A 20 in Dragonflight to maybe a 14 in Dragonflight. I want you to think about Trick Totem from Brackenhide Hollow. She has this move called Earth Bolt, I believe, and it just hits people. In a 21 or a 22, that just chunks you. Like that can kill a player in 3 casts if they're unfortunate enough to get targeted that many times. So while the healer's doing heal checks and there's a fixate and the tornadoes and Trick Totem, the move itself, with the tank disorient, you need to find enough crowd control that you not only stop the healing that goes out from Trick Totem, but also you have to stop that move from just blasting people the whole time. In a 14, you could never kick the move and you would barely notice it. Maybe the healer's stressing out a little bit more, but it's not that much harder. But yeah, in a 20 Tyrannical, don't mess around. That move will eventually kill someone. And if players aren't periodically kicking it, it's a lot of extra damage. What does that mean? Player responsibility goes up. So for an example, if everyone, tank, DPS, and healer, are all doing their job like perfectly, they're crowd controlling, they're kicking, defensives, offensive cooldown usage is beautiful, health pots, self-healing, you name it, everyone's doing a good job. Cakewalk should be the easiest key of your life. Do the mechanics, get out of stuff, kill things, should be super easy. But I'm sure a couple of you are laughing right now. It's not always like that. If we just told all the DPS, or if we just removed the DPS and replaced them with the bad DPS that did okay damage, did no prio target damage, and never did CCs or kicks or defensives or you name it, oh yeah, it turns into a really bad scenario like very quickly. A lot of this ends up becoming the tank and the healer's problem, and when people start dying because the healer can't output enough kicks and CC and healing to save the day, players don't do what they're supposed to do, which is like check details and be like, okay, why did I die? And come to the conclusion of like what killed them and what they could have done better before maybe blaming directly the healer, that it's like a healer problem. No, everyone just blames the healer. This has been happening forever. I remember playing Counter-Strike Source, and a few of our members were WoW players, and they would make jokes about blaming the healer. You're telling me that I've been hearing about this joke since before I started even playing WoW, or it was even on my radar, right? So first of all, on a community level, that's a problem. We're still blaming healers to this day for things that aren't necessarily their fault, especially when in modern day WoW, it doesn't play like Wrath of the Lich King. There's a lot of dodgeable, avoidable, kickable, CCable things in the game that can really change the tide of battle. So player responsibility is on an all-time high. Now let's just flip the script one more time. What about the tanks? What if the tank sucks? Oh yeah, so what if the tank is barely keeping threat? Oh, well then DPS might just be getting killed left and right. What if they're not using CC? Well, okay, everyone else can potentially cover the CC if you're good, but the healer is gonna have to pump heals into a tank that's not doing a good job of mitigating. If you have to constantly pump spells into a tank, chances are you're gonna run out of mana or run out of cooldowns where the tank's just gonna flat out die if an extra mob gets pulled. Because if tanks aren't doing their job and they need constant healing, it is much more healing than you typically have to give a healer, or like give a tank. And this comes from an anecdote of a friend of mine who healed, I think, a 7 as a resto shaman with a tank with 20% shield block uptime. This is not the first time I've ever seen this. I see this actually an unfortunate amount, but for those who don't know, Prot Warrior, shield blocks the move where they put their shield in front of their face and they block, and you can have an 80 to 99 something percent uptime on this move. Like, it's that good, right? So they ended up calling my friend a bad healer because they didn't have a good shield block uptime. Yeah, they didn't even think about what they might have done wrong. They didn't even ask the healer, hey, what's happening to me? Do you know why I'm dying? Which is a very genuine question you're allowed to ask a healer. But the responsibility is so important. Now, what if your healer isn't doing their part? Well, dungeons can take longer if they're not doing damage. Missing extra crowd control, again, it hurts. The DPS and the tank can probably cover a lot of it, but healers typically have a decent amount of CC. So to bring none of that to a party is, I think, a little rude. But to not heal effectively, constantly having to take drinks because you're not healing efficiently, versus people taking too much damage and you're running out of mana, which is a little hard to differentiate, I think, when you're not a healer. But that is 100% a problem too. I've seen a lot of healers who play very inefficiently, or they're running some off meta build that they love, but they're in a 20. Like, they're not in a 15, they're not in a 14, they're in a 20. And they're running some wild build that's not mana efficient, and they're running out of juice mid pull, and they're struggling to heal things. And so this isn't like just a DPS or a tank problem. I've seen a lot of healers make the mistakes too. So before I talk about healer mistakes and what we can do better, let's talk about one last thing that really affected this game. Season 1 to Season 2, there was a patch for 20% damage and 20% health. Everyone had 20% more health, including mobs, and then everyone did 20% more damage. This leaves the time to kill sort of the exact same as it used to be. But it means that healing got about 20% harder. That's a hard number to put into words, but there was effectively, right, 20% more healing you had to do. And that's actually quite a lot when you consider AoE healing in Mythic Plus, or rather just in healers in general. It's either raid healing or it's limited to big cooldowns. It can be hard to heal an entire party very quickly unless you play your cards right, your combos right, and use your CDs effectively. So if you told a player from Shadowlands that they're going to have to do a 21 in order to get their gear, and it's going to be 20% harder for them to heal players up to full, they'd be like, what? Why would I ever do that? Of course, they did. A lot of people are still trying to attempt 20s, but I don't see everyone doing their part in making this process easier. So let me start from the bottom up. Healers, there's two sides to this. On the one hand, I think a lot of you who want to stay healers and want to go back to it, do it. Get back into it. It's hard. Read some guides. It's okay to watch like a YouTuber or a Wowhead guide or something, right? And like learn why they do what they do. Learn why they play these meta talents to better help influence your build. And maybe you find some fun little off meta change here and there, but ultimately learn those things so that you understand why they're taken, so that you can be a better player, right? Even if you're healing a low key and doing a fun build, so that you can understand damage profiles and healing profiles a bit better. But also, some of you don't want to learn, and I don't recommend that. If you don't want to change your playstyle and you don't want it to get easier, there's nothing wrong with either sticking to lower content where you can get away with whatever kind of play you want, or walking away. Some of you don't want to play healer anymore, and that's okay. If you want to change healing specs, if you want to change, classes entirely or roles, I don't take that as like an L or like a you're quitting or anything like that. No, that's okay. You want to have fun with the game. They fundamentally changed healing. I make the joke, but it's not Wrath of the Lich King anymore. It doesn't play the same. So the game has fundamentally changed. So if you feel as if you need something that is more fun for you to do, I say go for it. That's the right play. But as for all of us, let's be a bit kinder. Let's be open to criticism. Let's be open to people telling us what's up. We don't need to sugarcoat anything, but there's nicer ways to tell people they're making mistakes. Tell people like, hey, try not to die with the defensive still up. Little things like that. Even when people get annoyed, they're thinking about it now. When I tell a paladin to stand on their consecration a bit more, and they tell me they're doing just fine, you know, sometimes I'll call them out again, but a lot of the times that consecration uptime goes up by a drastic amount. That's what I'm looking for as a player, right? I'm looking to see that people are at least trying to improve. There's nothing incorrect about that, and I encourage it, but just be kinder about it, because I don't need to hear people flaming each other in an 8. Y'all, I can heal an 8 on a character that's like 360 right now. You do not need, it's not like that hard, and new players are going to be there who do find that content hard because they're brand new to it. They might find that intimidating. And what you need to not do is scare those players off or make them feel bad because they're not already a legend at the game. Because we all come from different backgrounds. We don't know where each other are at. And because it's gone from doing 15s to doing 20s, there's a lot of people who are stretching probably outside of their punching weight. And we need to just be the best we can about that as a community. I'm probably going to make a video series on cool things that we might be able to do that could spice up Mythic Plus or incentivize healing, but just some food for thought for the road and for your comment section. One idea that I got from the Liquid Women's in Warcraft Discord, I don't remember who said it, but somebody mentioned a queuing system for Mythic Plus might be a really good way to like get healers out there and incentivize healers for helping other groups. You could also, for instance, have Mythic Plus talents similar to PvP talents so that healers and maybe other classes and roles can take utility in to the dungeon to help each other out. I think that would be really fun, being able to pick up a battle res or maybe like a smaller version of PI that you're allowed to use if you're not a priest. I don't know, just spitballing ideas. I think there's a lot of cool things that you could do with a system like that. This isn't an easy like wave the wand and the developers fix it kind of problem either. A lot of these things I also don't think need changing. I love the difficulty. I think the expression of skill that healer provides is awesome. And I really like the challenge. I don't really want it to become too much easier. I want it to just be a little bit easier for people to get into, right? Or for players to be incentivized to want to try healing. One final note before I say goodbye to you all. If you're looking for a challenge and you like really pushing yourself, try healer. Healer maybe starts a little slow and a touch boring for some people, but I'm going to be real with you. When you're starting to push high keys, healer can get very stressful, especially in pugs, but it's also really rewarding to learn how to master a class like that and get extremely good at something. So if you're looking for a challenge, you know, give healer a try, honestly. And if you're intimidated by healing and you want to come back to it, slow and steady. Start with some low keys, ask your favorite content creator questions, right? Get the information you need. World of Warcraft is a very big and complicated game. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to like look at how other people do things. It's not cheating to look up a build. I would say you're kind of cheating your party if you don't learn the build and you don't read the talents and learn things about the class. So if you're pushing high content, try to step it up to the plate. If you want to take it easy, it's okay to start low, but I think we can all be a bit nicer. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm curious though, what else you guys have to say about this one. There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm only briefly gone over this topic. I just didn't want this video being 20 something minutes long. So I'll be in the comments section chatting with all of you, and let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all in the next one. And until then, take care, y'all.